That nightmare scenario I told you about, well, it's here. Worst start in 21 years, worst start ever under Dabo Swinney. We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, what is up, Tiger fans? I know you're loving being here with me in this post-game show. And obviously, all of us would probably rather be somewhere else. I'd like to go get in an airplane. Maybe you'd like to go do your hobby. But this is where we're at right now. Clemson officially 1-3 for the first time since 2004. For the first time since I was in high school. Oh, man, this is ridiculous. I can't believe it. What's up, everybody? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 The Roar every Tuesday night from 7 to 9. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen after the game. And as always, you know how we do it here on Locked On. Exclusive Clemson content Monday through Friday. Every single week, so I really appreciate the love and support that everybody does. And all of the everydayers out there, you know how we do it here. And if you're new to the show, well, welcome in. I hate that you're with me in this, after this loss, this historical loss for Clemson. But, we'll talk about it. We'll work through it together. As you know, back in the day, I used to do on my show a losers support group. And where anything was open for interpretation, anything was allowed to be said. And it's true here. You can get in the comments and do that as well. I know a lot of people have given me feedback about they want me to go over more comments. So we'll do that. I'll make sure to get to more comments from you as well. This is definitely a season that is not on the brink anymore. It's brinked, or whatever you want to call it. The brink is outbrinked. There's no brink. Where's the brink? It's gone. It's over. I mean, you're not getting to the ACC championship game without an entire amount of luck. You're not getting to the playoffs at this point at all. Your team's in shambles. You have nothing to look forward to except for the South Carolina game. Even the most excited fan, the most sunshine pumper of sunshine pumpers out there has to admit that this team looks bad. I mean, just bad. And the record proves it. And the performance on the field proves it. It is a nightmare season. I did this in the summertime when I was, admittedly kind of scrapping for topics to talk about. I said, what about these nightmare scenarios? How many games could Clemson lose? Well, I said that Clemson actually could lose 3 games. But the scenario was that they would have to lose the 2 non-conference games. They'd have to lose like Furman or South Carolina and LSU, the cap end of the season. Those would have to be those 2 main games. And then they could get away with just 1 ACC loss, because as we saw last year, Clemson barely made it in with 1 ACC loss last year. It was do or die. They were not in control of their destiny. And well, at this point, they are not in control of their destiny at all. Hey, if you're watching over on YouTube live, make sure you get in. Tell me, 1, where you're from, and also give me your grade on the team. And if you're listening over on the podcast, you can message me over on X at the Morgan T Show. But I'm pretty sure I know what your grades will be, or I hope your grades are not B's and A's, because that team is not a B and an A team. And I don't know if they're really a C team at this point. It is extremely disappointing. Although there were some, if you look at the stat sheet, there's some things that you could say were good. But overall, at the end of the day, Syracuse had control of this game. They were up 34-21. They won 34-21. They had control of the game. Clemson couldn't do more than 1 touchdown a quarter. And now they're 1-3 overall, 0-2 overall in the ACC. Worst start in conference play in 15 years. Worst start ever in 21 years. Worst start in Dabo Swinney's career. First ever win for Syracuse in Death Valley. you know, this is now three straight home losses to Power 4 opponents. You have South Carolina, LSU, now Syracuse. First time that's ever happened in 24 years. This is a nightmare season, if anything. I don't really know what to call it other than a nightmare season. You know what I mean? I mean, really, what can we call it other than a nightmare season? The expectations were sky high. This team was 4th in the nation and is one of the worst teams in the country, one of the worst teams in their conference. What were we thinking? We got bamboozled. We got hoodwinked. We got lied to. This is not the team we thought it would be. And honestly, the scarier part is it's not the team the staff thought it would be either. Picked to win the ACC. Picked to go back to the playoffs. Having the most returning production ever. And you know what the LSU fans told me? Well, Morgan, having all those returners don't really mean nothing if they can't play ball. They didn't say it in that accent. They said it in the Bayou accent, and I'll respect their accent, not try to attempt to do it that way. But it's starting to come to be truth. Well, it is the truth that getting all those returners when they just really aren't that good is the bigger problem, right? Clemson's not in playoff contention. Could you tell me that they're going to get to the ACC championship game? Yeah, you probably could. You probably could wing that. Still, I mean, they have so many games left. They're losing all of the games at the beginning of the season. So they have everything ahead of them. Fans are not sticking around. The lightning delay, understandably shoot away a lot. I mean, the stadium was actually packed at the beginning of the game. But fans are starting to check out. The boos are raining down. And by the end of the game, it was near empty. The gathering at the Paw is ruined because of the new rule. And my childhood excitement of going to the Paw after a game, my dad letting me run down there, is gone. No kid is ever going to enjoy that ever again. Maybe no grown man either, as weird as it may be for some of you grown men who used to jump the fence early. But, it is still a season to forget. 10-0 to start the game. I came out here and I said, guys, I told you this. We know this team sometimes seems better than the guys on the sideline. That's kind of crazy. It's frustrating. We know this team. We said, hey, Clemson has to get out early and they have to get 10 points in 10 minutes. They have to get 10 points in 10 minutes. They cannot start from behind again. What did they do? They started from behind again. Garrett Riley's MO is to have this team as least ready as possible. I mean, yet again, a Garrett Riley team can't figure it out at the beginning of the game. Behind 10-0. Didn't even have the ball and they were behind 10-0. I mean, it's ridiculous. The opening drive, the onside kick. What is this team? What is this team preparing for? Do they practice? I mean, I'm starting to question, do they practice? Really? Sometimes it looks like they don't practice. Cade Klubnik actually, statistically, 363 yards. I would have picked him for the Elite QB Challenge on the radio. 3 touchdowns, 363. Man, you'd like, hey, okay, I like that. But that does not show what he actually did. I mean, what he actually did was look like a high school quarterback. And that's kind of disrespectful to some of the good high school quarterbacks out there. Adam Randall was the bright spot yet again. 130 rushing yards, 205 all-purpose yards. Adam Randall, the guy that we thought was going to – what? Adam Randall? Adam Randall wasn't even a running back last year, but is the bright spot outside of Bryant Wesco? Bright spot. What would have happened? What would this team be without Adam Randall at running back? Because he's so versatile, catching the ball out of the backfield and being that safety valve. And he's such a playmaker and a guy who won't stop and won't give up. What would this team be without Adam Randall? We keep talking about Antonio Williams this, Antonio Williams that. What would this team be without Adam Randall? And O'Neal Williams is good. I'm not knocking him at all, but Adam Randall is the only guy outside of Bryant Wesco that is carrying this team. And they forget about him. 3rd and 1, they don't use him. 4th and 1, they don't use him. I'm just, shocked by how the offense is doing, how the defense is doing. I mean, the defense, did they show up the first half? I mean, they got better a little bit, but they gave up 248 yards on 12 plays, had a rushing success rate of 40%. I mean, running backs for Syracuse, 146 yards rushing, 4.4 yards per carry against a defense that Tom Allen was supposed to be fixing. Steve Angeli, before he unfortunately looks like he's torn his Achilles, and thoughts and prayers go out to Steve Angeli, because he could have probably destroyed this Clemson team. And now Syracuse, thankfully, they have a backup from a transfer from LSU that they can trust as well. But Angeli was on pace to torch Clemson. I mean, we knew what shocked me is we knew that Clemson's was going to have to deal with a heavy passing attack. I had no clue that Syracuse would have 146 rushing yards on 12 plays. What was their final rushing yards? Their final rushing yards were 155. I think they only had like 320 something for the year. So you gave them more than half of what they already had for the year. 278 passing yards. Clemson actually had more total yards for the first time ever. They still didn't win the time of possession. Still cannot figure out how to win time of possession. But thankfully, this game, they had more yards. 1 of 5 on 4th downs. They're having to go on 4th down 5 times. 5 times. You think, man, this Cade Klubnik had to throw 60 times. I'm in shock, really. I mean, everything I'm saying, I know y'all are laughing in the comments. I know y'all how y'all do me. You're laughing at me. You're just chuckling. If you're not a Clemson fan, you're really laughing at me. If you're a Clemson fan, you're probably like, here goes Morgan again. I should go I told you I was going to put that helmet on. I should go put the helmet on. Where's my brown paper bag? No, I won't do that. I won't do that. All right, I'm going to go to break real quick, and I promise you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my ads, and then we're going to go to the comments, all right? So we'll do that right after this. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, well, it's really hard to say. But I will say that Clemson's ability to continue having Adam Randall go out there and run the ball successfully. Another game, 130 yards on 16 carries with a 39-yarder and 8.1 yards per carry. He was actually up close to 9 before the game was over, or before the last quarter. He continued to move the game forward. Adam Randall has been the bright spot for this Clemson offense for sure. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by Wayfair. The weather's cooling down and the days are getting shorter, and that has me wanting to make my home feel even cozier. And when it comes to cozifying your space this fall, Wayfair is the place to go. Wayfair has everything you need to set the mood for the season, whether it's a comfy recliner, warm bedding, autumn decor, or even an espresso machine so you can make your favorite latte at home. I recently picked up a new ottoman downstairs, and I love it. It's completely made my living room much better, and you can use it because I don't have a sectional, so I can use it to sleep on when I'm down there. And almost fell asleep during this game too. But it's the perfect time for you to also set up your home decor. Cozyfy your space with Wayfair's curated collection of easy, affordable fall updates. From comfy recliners to cozy bedding to autumn decor, you'll find it all for way less at wayfair.com. That's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, let's catch up on the comments here. I told you I would do it. We got Boone in here, says he's from Sumter, South Carolina. Daryl from Los Angeles, California. Christopher Terry says, how in the world do we come out after last week's coach speak all week and play like that? How is that possible? I can understand that, Chris. I really do. I understand where you're coming from. I mean, Dabo Swinney had a fiery speech to answer a question that nobody asked him. Nobody asked him that question. But I could understand that he was trying to continue to push forward and push through the season. But the reality is that the team and the talent level on this team is just not what it is. I mean, what we are seeing on the field obviously is not drastically different from practice. That's my true belief. No way, no how can you convince me that what you see in practice is 10 times better than what you're seeing on the field. I think they're seeing the same thing, and either they're not telling themselves the truth or they're not telling us the truth. I think they're probably not telling us the truth, but if they're telling themselves the truth and they still do this, to me, they just don't have the talent. They are who they are. They're just not a talented team. You know, they have guys that are not bad players. I'm not personally attacking any player specifically, but they're just not talented as what we've seen in the past. And the other teams around are just gaining in talent. And it all revolves around the transfer portal. It really does. It revolves around coaching and the transfer portal. You're not replenishing players as fast as other people are. You're not getting new looks and different styles of players, different talents as quickly. Dabo's still working under this slow development process that takes 3 and 4 years for guys. Well, guess what? Everybody else is using the transfer portal vigorously, and their teams are rotating through and looking different year after year. Now, there's a balance. You don't want to look like Florida State where you have no wins one season and 10 wins the season before that. You don't want that. But you have to take a step back and say, where are we lacking on our team, in our team? Where is it that the development is taking too long? You know, waiting 3 and 4 years, waiting till they get graduated for them to even get a significant amount of snaps. Other teams are just not waiting around that long, you know, and it's noble. It's a noble cause to develop guys, to stick with them, to be loyal, to watch them through till graduation. It's a noble cause. It's what college football used to be, but now it's not. And Dabo Swinney mentioned that this week, that the teams, the players wanted this. They wanted this because they're getting paid now. They wanted this. So the problem that I see is that there has to be some sort of agreement that if there's a position group not performing, if there's a player not performing or not up to the standard that the rest of the league is, then what are they going to do and how quickly are they going to notice it? Because the years of waiting till they graduate to swap guys out, it's not working anymore. Waiting till they're 5 years into it to switch them out, or to wait until they graduate or go become undrafted, that's a long process to replenish and replace. So if you keep sticking with the same guys over and over and over, you're going to get the same results. Well, the problem is that everybody else is replacing and swapping out and refreshing certain areas. And sometimes they get worse, sometimes they get better. But what we're seeing is Georgia Tech's getting better. What we're seeing is Florida State's getting better. We're seeing Syracuse getting better. We're seeing Clemson actually getting worse, which is shocking enough, but they're getting worse with the same players. I never would have thought in a million years that the team would be worse with the same players. I thought they'd be the same with the same players, but they're actually worse. The offensive line doesn't look good. The running back is the bright spot, and man, he wasn't even a running back last year. The quarterback, Cade Klubnik, drops back 20 yards before he doesn't stay in the pocket at all. There's no pocket for Cade Klubnik. He drops back 15 yards, 20 yards. I know I'm exaggerating, but he drops back so far that that's not a pocket. He doesn't want to be anywhere near the pocket. He doesn't want to be anywhere near the line of scrimmage. So these passes, he's having to throw on his back foot. He's having to scramble. He's having to throw much further than a traditional quarterback would be if he just stands still. You know, he's not staying in the pocket. Guys aren't getting open, but they really only have one read per play. I've come to the conclusion, Clemson and Cade Klubnik, they're giving him one read, one primary read, and that's it. The other option is the check down, which is not really a read. It's just find, Adam Randall. Or find Antonio Williams. It's the check down. It's not really a route or anything. It's just kind of like what they used to do with Travis Etienne. And it was so great with Travis. And it actually works really well with Adam Randall too. But the one read, it doesn't matter. Have you noticed it doesn't matter what the defense is? A lot of times he throws it to that one read no matter what. Could be 3 guys around him. Could be 2 guys around him. Could be, luckily, one-on-one, and then they win it. Or it could be one-on-one and they don't win it. What you see is what's happening. It's a one-read offense. And I think it's a one-read offense because of Cade Klubnik. He's a quarterback that is playing at a high school level right now. Really, that's all it is. And a lot of these offensive coordinators get away with it because they just have a lot of talent. They have a lot of talent around them. They get away with it. And it's just not getting away with it at this point. They're just not. Big Load says Dabo blasted questions to cop an attitude and got his doors blown off the next game. I don't know if I think Dabo still wants to win. I mean, he strikes me as a guy who would just retire if he's not in it to win it. But I can understand where you would be frustrated to see or hear Dabo Swinney come out and go through his whole resume and rip up, his everything that he's been through. And I feel as if he was trying to, I give him the benefit of the doubt. I feel as Dabo was trying to say, hey, look at how far I've come. Look at the 17 years I've done. Look at how I have built what I've built and rebounded. But as I mentioned to you this week, Clemson is paying him $11 million for everything that he's done for the university. The boos aren't because of what he's done. The frustration is not because of what he's done. The frustration is because of this product this year, right here, right now. And honestly, we thought we had a bad product with DJ Uiagalelei. This product is worse than what we had with DJ Uiagalelei. It's worse. DJ, you would almost rather have DJ at this point. Really, really. And that's a shocker to say. I would never think that I would be saying that. But you would rather have DJ based on what we're seeing. Buckshot says, Atlanta, this was a D. Dabo married to Cade. I do believe that this is a poor graded game on both sides. The Clemson defense couldn't stop anybody. They're not getting any kind of pressure. I told you that. I mean, UConn got 4 sacks against Syracuse and almost won the game. Clemson never had the lead in this game. I mean, this is shocking to me. At home, of all places. This is a disaster. The team, the talent that's on this team, that you think it has talent, he mentions being married to Cade. Player rotation is a big question I have. Where's the player rotation? You never see Gideon Davidson. And I can understand that. Adam Randall's actually doing well. You never see Christopher Vizina. Well, I don't understand that because Cade Klubnik's playing horrible. Is Cade Klubnik making too much money that you can't bench him? Is the money making the decisions now for Clemson? I have a question about that. I really do. Is the money pushing Clemson to keep these players in that aren't playing to their potential? I mean, and it's not just Cade, you know. You've got TJ Moore out there, can't seem to get any kind of separation, drops half his balls, has a couple of good plays here and there, but he's not getting open like Bryant Wesco. He's not getting open like Antonio Williams. Cade Klubnik, like I said, only has one read, so you got to hope that the one read that he sees him on is going to be one that he can make a play, but with TJ Moore, it's not most of the time. With Bryant Wesco, it's actually like, I would say more than 80% of the time, it seems like it's successful. With Antonio Williams, I'd say more than 50% of the time. Tyler Brown's really not used that much. You get Cole Turner in there, and you rarely ever see Tristan Smith, and when you do see him, man, he fights for extra yardage like his life depended on it. Tristan Smith had a great spring. We heard all kind of bragging about him in the fall, and then you never use him? What are they watching in practice? What are they seeing in practice? You're now 3 losses down, and you got guys that you never see that actually did well in the spring? What is happening in practice that they're doing so much more than the guys that you're actually seeing that can't do anything? The defensive line, I mean, outside of Will Helt, what would this team be without Will Helt? What would this team be without Will Helt, the one guy you actually use from the transfer portal? This team would be Sammy Brown and no one. I mean, really? You know, I don't understand it. The talent level, either they were not telling us the truth about the talent level, or they're not telling themselves the truth about the talent level. There's some disconnect there. And I get it. I've been kind of a proponent of when the season comes, it's all about the players. And it is. During the season, the coaching part is over with. The best thing you can do is have the right players out there and call the best game you can. Honestly, though, I don't think they're the right players are out there a lot of times, and I don't think they're calling the best game they can call. You know, they're 1 yard to go and they're not running the ball. You know, they're not using their time. He wasted what, 8 seconds before the timeout, and then didn't realize that spiking the ball didn't stop the clock. So then they had to call a timeout anyways. Didn't get a field goal. Didn't get calling plays that just don't make sense. It seems like the plays are just a random amount of plays, and there's only one option, and that's it. Being married to Cade is a concern. You mean to tell me that you're going to send Christopher Vezina to Baton Rouge in 2026? We don't even see Christopher Vezina. I mean, come on. Christopher Vezina is going to be your starter in 2026? You don't even see him. We have no proof. And do we trust what they see in practice? I don't. Adam, what's going on with Clemson? Well, I hope I'm helping you with that. Daryl says C-. Syracuse left the door open. Syracuse did, but to me, I don't want to hear, well, we're 1 or 2 plays away. As true as it may have been, there was a moment there where if TJ Moore, if the fumble wouldn't have happened, and then if TJ Moore would have caught the ball, or it wouldn't have been overthrown his head, you could probably fight for the fact that they might have been closer. The fumble really gave them that extra 7, so you could say 28. But the games happen the way the games happen. You know, we can't keep going through this 1 or 2 plays away. As I told you last week or this week coming up, when you're 8 or 9 plays away and each play that you say is a different position group, your team's just outperformed. Your team did not win the game. Your team is not as talented. At the end of the day, as I like what Wade Woodaz says, you are what your record is. And I've told you this, a duck is a duck is a duck, you know? A duck is a duck is a duck. And I hate it for the team because I know these guys. I'll tell you 3 things. So when we look at players, right? Players, when you fast forward to what happens at home, okay? Do the players have a good support staff? Yeah, I think they do. They have a good family. I think every player on Clemson has probably a good support group, a good family. If they don't, they have a Clemson family that supports them like crazy. So I don't think it's anything to do with the dorm room or at home. I really don't. I believe the support group around these players, I don't know all their family situations, but they seem like all great kids who want to do their best, who are proud of going to Clemson, who want to win games. Nobody wants to lose. I don't care what team I'm on. You know, I'm a huge Braves fan. If the Yankees had drafted me, I'd still want to win every single game. I don't care, you know? And these seniors that may never go to the NFL, they're still going to want to go out there and fight. These guys that still have opportunities, maybe even to be better this year for the next year, they're still going to want to go out there and fight because playing sports is fun. You know, you want to do that. Now, you're gonna probably feel bad for yourself for the next couple of days, but you got to just pick yourself back up and keep moving forward. I mean, we've all had bad weeks. We've all had bad years in our lifetime. But in football, really, in the grand scheme of things, is not the big deal, you know, really. I mean, it's not. I mean, you might think that I'm frustrated by this, but I'm telling you, after everything that's been going on in the country the past couple of weeks, this stuff doesn't matter. You know what matters to me? The two girls on the other side of this door, my wife and my daughter. You know, that's what matters to me. So I'm doing this show because I need some money to go flying. But back in the day, it used to really bother me. I used to stay up late and not get any sleep because of a Clemson game that I had no control over. I'm not letting it happen now. But I'm going to tell you I'm frustrated. I'm going to tell you how I feel because this is what I like to do. This is my hobby, is talking Clemson. But this is the worst I've ever had to talk Clemson because, you know, for 6 or 7 years that I've been doing this, Clemson has not been a bad team. But, you know, they left the door open, but the team is just not getting it done. That's the end of the day. I mean, just imagine if they would have scored that on one of those last drives and they would have been down by 7. We might have been hearing, oh, well, just one play away. And you don't want to hear that because this team did not play well enough to win the game, up and down. Cade's an 8th-year senior with his daddy, Riley. Dabo just loves him. Yeah, I can understand that. DBA says, I want to tear my hair out. Well, I don't have a lot of hair, but I'm trying to keep it. So I'm not going to tear my hair out. Don't tear your hair out. Ronnie says, GBO. I guess he's a Syracuse fan. So congrats, Ronnie, there. Tater Salad says, Cade can't throw down the middle. Apparently, we only have one running back, Randall, and they choose too late to utilize Randall in the game. I think Cade does spread the ball around, but he only has one read. I'm convinced at this point it's one read Cade. That's it. That's what I'm convinced. I got a lot of comments from the same people, so I'm trying to scoot down here. Baylor Bear gets in. Baylor Bear, welcome in. I would never have thought that a Baylor fan would be in the chat, but Baylor fan says, has a lot of respect for your coach. Hope y'all can turn it around. You know, I mean, I think that there was a lot of hope that this team had a lot of games in front of them that could turn it around. But, and there was this idea that Clemson got progressively better in 2024. They really didn't. When you look at how Cade performed, how their offense performed, their efficiency, their QBR, their ratings, their grades, their results, it was really more of up and down the whole season, you know? And what we're seeing now is a down part, the worst down we've ever seen with Clemson. And I don't want to jump all over Clemson's offense too, because the offense did wake up then the defense fell apart. You know, Clemson's defense was gashed from the opening snap. They had nearly 200 yards alone in the first quarter, 7 yards per play at halftime. Syracuse ran for over 100 yards by the end of their third drive of the game and got out to an early lead. And that was their game plan from the very beginning. Defensive players were in man coverage almost the entire game. And Amari Rodgers even came out. Amari Rodgers said, you got to know your personnel. There's no reason why a safety should be one-on-one in an island like he was in that situation. Talking about Ricardo Jones, I believe, for the touchdown. Tom Allen was supposed to be able to bring in some experience and be a backbone and a motivator for this team. Instead, we're seeing big plays. We're still seeing bad tackling. We're seeing players stay in man coverage the entire game. You rarely ever see zone. Players are in visible frustration. I mean, you've got former players talking about there's no heart on this team. There's no guts. There's no, understanding of what's going on. Alumni, former players that made it to the NFL are frustrated. So if they're frustrated, you think we should be frustrated as fans? Do you think we should be frustrated as fans? I mean, Syracuse converted just a 3 out of 14 third downs, but they didn't need many third downs, because they kept getting chunk plays here and there. Clemson's defense only forced 1 punt in the first half. Their backup running back, which we made fun of about, okay, we'll feel good if he's out there, 5.6 yards per carry. I mean, was there any adjustments? Is Peter Woods doing anything? Is TJ Parker doing anything? I mean, he finally got a sack and a tackle for loss on the stat sheet, but these guys are not tearing up the backfield. They're not scaring opposing offensive lines. They're not winning the line of scrimmage. I don't think that the team has checked out by any means. I don't. But it feels like they don't know what they need to do. It feels like they're lost. Baylor Barrick says, is it an NIL thing? The confusion is that these players don't get paid. I got to tell you right now, Brad Brownell is not the only coach paying players, okay? Dabo Swinney is paying his players very, very well. These players are getting paid. Does that take away from their desire to win these games? Maybe. I don't know what's in somebody's heart. Unless they tell us straight up, I don't know. I have no idea what they're actually thinking inside their brain or in their heart. But what I will say is that we all as a fan base know these guys are getting paid. So considering they're getting paid, there's a standard that they have to play better than this, And if they're not better than this, honestly, it's not college football anymore. It's professional football. They're getting paid. I mean, come on. Even when I was a kid, everybody went to college, and every time you would hear them, up next is the left tackle, Parks and Recreation, the wide receiver, Parks and Recreation, tight end, Parks and Recreation, safety, Parks and Recreation, or you would hear linebacker, sociology, punter, sociology, kicker, finance, quarterback, sociology. I mean, come on, they're not going out there to be the next astrophysicist. These degrees they're getting. Has it been a priority? It's been a good thing to say. I mean, if you're a college sport, then yeah, you would want your kids to stay on your team and graduate. But is it a college sport anymore? These guys are getting paid a lot of money. Clemson's paying a lot of money, and they're going to spend a lot of money. They're going to spend millions on these players, and you're going to get charged more for it. You're going to get a talent fee. Your ticket prices have already gone up. You've probably noticed that you can't park in the same place you parked before because you don't donate enough to get the parking spot that you used to have. You know how it goes. You don't increase your donation, your parking spots in the cow pasture, or maybe you don't even have one. Your ticket, who knows where your ticket will be. That's the thing, is you got to keep increasing it. Because you're going to be paying these players. You are going to be paying these players. They're going to have revenue share. It's going to go from your views and your concessions and your ticket sales and those fees and all those things. And I think that's the way it should be. I mean, it's too big of a market to not pay the players. So I'm not saying it's wrong, but with all of that comes expectation that you're not going to be 1-3. 1-3 from a team that has never, in 21 years, first time in 15 years, fans are questioning whether or not the coach can adapt. In the past with Dabo Swinney, what have we always said under Dabo? We've said, help is on the way. Do you feel that? Help is on the way. You're going to walk into Baton Rouge with Christopher Vizina, quarterback they don't even use now. Help is on the way. There's no Sammy Watkins on the way. Okay? There's no Deshaun Watson on the way, at least from what we can tell. So, is help on the way? There's a different feeling about this team and now what's going to happen after this team. Ronnie says played about a C. Saul says from Anaheim, California, he says he's giving it an F. Mark Mason says terrible, and he says an F. Christopher Terry gets in, says Summerville, South Carolina, big fat F. Hey, Christopher, funny thing about Summerville, I just flew my wife down there. She's, got to see her college roommate. And so I landed in Summerville Airport, and it was you could see a picture of me on X at the Morgan T Show, a picture of me. I was at 10,000 feet. The clouds were beautiful. So I've been down in your neck of the woods this week. Got a lot of F's in there. Got one person saying, don't talk about the stat sheet. This team just doesn't play well. I think that's true too. Like I can understand where that's coming from. The stat sheet does not really paint the real picture. Stuck in Chase Landia says ACC championship. Are you out of your mind? Well, I never said they'd do an ACC championship. I don't know where you got that from, but maybe someone says in the chat there is, but definitely not me. Daryl says FSU's probably licking their chops. Honestly, it's not just FSU. I mean, who wouldn't be licking their chops for Clemson right now? Early Hatfield talent, Tommy West, or he says Tammy West, results, Nick Saban salaries. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's tough to keep. You have to change your approach, right? Dabo can't sell what he used to sell. What he used to sell as a young man was hope, was help is on the way, was I have the answers, I have the formula, and I'm going to put it to practice. You have to believe in me. And then when he was successful, then, it was like, okay, now I have the formula, and now I have to just replicate that year over year. Well, then COVID happened, and there's a lot of blame from the outside that COVID messed everything up. Well, there's other teams everybody else went through COVID too. So me, that's all an excuse. But you get back to the fact that there was a falling off. They could not maintain what they were able to do after the Brian Brucey recruiting cycle. And then they missed on a lot of guys they thought they were really good from other states. They lost out in South Carolina and Georgia to go to California, to go to Texas, and those guys didn't perform as well. And so now he's trying to bring it back into the Georgia, South Carolina, Florida area, but he's doing so with position coaches who have to recruit who really haven't done it. Ben Boulware could be a great coach, right? I don't know if he is or not, but you don't know what you don't know, right? I mean, if you've never done it, you got to learn it. And so Taj Boyd, CJ Spiller had to learn it. Tyler Gresham had to learn it. And Taj Boyd and Ben Boulware's got to learn it. And it takes time. So the recruiting, again, is going to be slower. If you're not going to use the transfer portal market while you develop your recruiting, it's just not going to work. The replenishment of talent, the replacement of talent, the refreshment of talent is just not there. It's not there. Try says Cade is still a good quarterback. Try, I'm sorry, but I have to completely disagree. I don't know how anybody could say Cade Klubnik is a good quarterback. He's not a first-round draft pick. That's a failure for him. He's not a Heisman Trophy candidate. That's a failure for him. He, I believe, has maybe, I don't know where he is at now, but he originally had the same amount of interceptions as touchdowns. And yes, he still has, let's see. No, he got 3 touchdowns today. So I don't have an updated cumulative, I guess. No, he had he had 3 touchdowns and 1 interception today. So I guess it hasn't updated on ESPN. So he's like 6-4 touchdowns and interceptions. He's probably going to be 1,000-yarder or close to 1,000 yards now. What you see on the stat sheet from Cade Klubnik is not what you're actually seeing out there. It's not the same. It's not the same. But the big thing is that the defense isn't getting better. The defense is getting worse. I posted on X, the defense is getting worse. So not only does the offense seem like they don't know what they're doing, they have no identity. They have a quarterback that's getting worse. Their defense is getting worse. All around, this has to be one of the worst Clemson teams I've ever seen. And I mean, I've seen some bad ones. I remember as a kid it being Travis Zachary running for 3 times and then punting. I remember as a kid, I went to a game and Clemson was winning against, I think it was Duke, and they blocked. I walked out of the stadium and I thought they were going to win the game. They blocked a punt and scored and won the game, and Clemson lost. I've been in some bad scenarios as a kid. My first ever game as a kid, NC State beat them. My uncle was a big NC State fan, and he rubbed it in my face the whole time. It was not a good first game for me. But the thing is that Clemson's got to restart all over. It is frustrating to be in this point where we're not even in October and you don't really know where to go from here. Where does Clemson go from here? What is Clemson going to do now? Well, hey, let me go to break. I'm going to do 2 more ads and we'll get to more of your comments and I'll give you some thoughts on where does Dabo go from here. Still, for better or worse, a long season ahead. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's local sports bar packed in on game days, or a coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are places that bring people together. When the neighborhood businesses thrive, the local neighborhood thrives. I got to tell you, I love going to the local coffee shops and getting some coffee and just really kind of supporting those places out there that are ran by Clemson graduates and Clemson fans. Chestnut Coffee House and Market, they focus on a great place where, they create a moment of pause in your day and it's just relaxing. They have great little snacks there. They have great coffee, great places to do your work if you need to study. And they're owned by huge, big time Clemson fans. Businesses like this turn, daily routines into just things that you have to do in your community. And Square helps that and makes that connection possible. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your local neighborhood spot. You'll be glad you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. This episode is also brought to you by DoorDash. This is almost the weekend. Well, it is the weekend, and time to look back on this weekend's MVP, Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. Well, the player of choice for me, I think, has to go to Adam Randall. Really, Adam Randall has been the light in the darkness. 16 carries, 130 yards, 39-yarder, and 8.1 yards per carry. They need to use him as much as possible. He's the only guy that seems to have the most fire on the offense, and he keeps things going. and he wants to be out there. And his story is great. This guy from Little River, South Carolina, who was a great high school player, had a ton of talent, wanted to be an elite wide receiver, didn't work out for him after 4 years, and now is basically the biggest success story of 2025 for Clemson. And it's not just a good story. He's actually doing great. 8.1 yards per carry. The last 2 games before that, 5.3 yards per carry. And just like Adam Randall delivers for Clemson, DoorDash delivers for you on your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order, stack up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. All right, we're back here with the final segment. I'm going to try to go down to the most recent stuff of the chat. And thank you so much for hanging with us. The everydayers out there, you know how we do exclusive content for Clemson Monday through Friday. And then also after the game, we do it, immediately after the game here for these games. And unfortunately, they've been bad games, but looking at the stat sheet, Cade Klubnik, 37 for 60 Wow. 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 62% completion percentage. Not a bad stat sheet. But overall, he's just not getting it done when it's needed. Adam Randall, 16 carries, 130 yards, 39-yard long, and 8.1 yards per carry. Passing did better today. I thought they spread the ball around a lot better. 8 catches for TJ Moore, the best he's done all season, for 92 yards. He got targeted 17 times, though. 17 targets for TJ Moore and only 8 catches. I mean, 47%. That's not good. Why are you using him 47%? Why are you using him that much if he's only catching the ball 47% of the time? Adam Randall, 7 catches on 8 targets. That's 88%. Bryant Wesco, 6 catches on 10 targets. That's 60%. Antonio Williams, 5 catches on 9 targets, 56%. Tyler Brown, 3 for 3. Tristan Smith, 2 for 2. Bentancur, 2 for 2. So your perfects of the day were Brown, Smith, Bentancur, and Easy Omume. On the defensive side of the ball for Clemson, you had Wade Woodaz leading the way with 10 total tackles. Sammy Brown after that. Avion Terrell after that. Peter Woods after that. We got some sacks. Jaheim Lawson got a sack, and TJ Parker got a sack, and also Steph Green got a sack. Tackles for loss, you had Jaheim had 2, Sammy Brown had a half, TJ Parker had 1.5, and Steph Green had 1. So 5 total tackles for loss. Only 2 QB hurries compared to Syracuse, who had 6 QB hurries and 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. That's just as shocking to me that a Syracuse team that we were told was just not very good on defense would be disrupting your backfield like it was. I'm not impressed by the offensive line at all. Tristan Lee might as well be an orange cone out there. Okay, pull this up here. When you look at comparison, when you look at penalties, okay, look at these penalties here. Ryan Linthicum, false start. Blake Miller, false start. Ryan Linthicum, false start. Blake Miller, false start. I mean, these guys are your guys that are supposed to be your senior dudes. You're all ACC guys. Blake Miller, all ACC. I've told you he's not, but they keep voting him for that. And then we didn't want to talk about this one, but those 2 back-to-back rushing the passer situations. I know everybody wants to say that the Will Helt scenario wasn't. Again, I'm not going to go down the route of penalties did this or that for this team because they're just not playing well. If they played well and a penalty lost the game for them, then yeah, I'm going to fight for that till I'm blue in the face. I'm going to fight for that. But they're actually not playing well. And so that's where I fail to fight for them, to be honest with you. So if they were, then the penalties, I could see where you could go with that. But for me, just not. And so anyways, where does Dabo Swinney go from here? Daryl says the Gasparilla Bowl. Maybe it's time for us to ask our Gamecock friends, what did they do when they win 7 games? How do they do that? What do they do? Aaron Bass says that Dabo Swinney is on the podium now, and Grayson Mann is up there talking about it. Let me pull up what we got. Dabo Swinney. I got this from Chapel Fowler. The name of the game is points, but we didn't get it done. Incredibly disappointing. My job is to get us better. He hopes that the media noticed that the guys fought to the last play and they love Clemson. This is kind of what I was saying before. I do believe the players on the team want to win. I believe that they fought to the last minute. I believe they're trying their best. I think they have a good support staff. I think they have good structure behind them, coming from their family to the coaching staff behind them. I'm not in doubt of the heart that these players are playing with. I'm not in doubt of any of that. I'm not in doubt that they are wanting to be, that they are wanting to do their best, and this is not their best. I mean, everybody's disappointed in this, along with the players. But as Dabo Swinney mentioned, the name of the game is points, and they're just not getting it done. So as a coaching staff, they've got to do something. You can't just keep walking out the same dudes and with the same results and just expecting something different. I mean, if anything, you want to feel like that your coaching staff is trying something different. It feels like they're not trying anything different. He also says that Dabo Swinney says the most frustrating part of Syracuse surprise onside kick in the first quarter was that they literally talked about being prepared for it, the surprise onside kick, in the huddle before it happened. Well, see, I wish Dabo Swinney wouldn't say stuff like this because, it goes back to, if they truly are telling them to be ready for these things and they're just not ready, then these guys just are not that good of players, Dabo also said, quote, "There's no fight in me, but we've got to reset our goals." Says Clemson needs to be realistic about what it can accomplish this season, but he appreciates the heart and the fight and the effort of the players to the last play. There's no fight in me, but we've got to reset our goals. I don't know if it's kind of weird to say there's no fight in you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the whole context on that, but they do have to reset their goals. I mean, are they going to go to the ACC championship game? Probably not. Are they going to win out? I told you I didn't expect that. I did not expect 10-2. That was unrealistic. Anybody who said 10-2 3 days ago was ridiculous. I mean, come on. 9-3 would have been an elite season. Now 9-3 is not possible, in my opinion. I don't think it's possible. 8-4 is still what I thought is still on the table, but I also thought 8-4 losing to Florida State and South Carolina. I did not think 8-4 losing to Syracuse. So we got problems. And I got to tell you something. Boston College with Dylan Lonergan, basically the same type of offense that Syracuse has. So, they got to go to Boston College for that. Chappell says, talking about how Clemson played well on a tempo offense today, Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik brings up, unprompted, that he felt like Syracuse seemed to have a guy getting injured after Clemson made a big play. To me, that's just an excuse. I mean, I didn't feel as if every single big play there was a Syracuse player down, and it really shouldn't matter. That's noise. Adam Randall says it's not exciting to be 1-3. But that's where we are right now. Yeah. 8 games left, and they have 4 away games to go for sure. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can find Grayson Mann's stuff on TigerNet, and I'll read it to you. Grayson Mann, former Clemson defensive end Xavier Thomas, says it's not an upset anymore to beat Clemson. That's true. Incredibly disappointing. been in a lot of painful Dabo says he's been in a lot of painful locker rooms, but that one was up near the top. You know, as a coach, so I've coached little kids teams where we've lost like 6 games in a row, and it sucks because even though at that level, you don't really want to make it about winning and losing, and you try to make it fun. But when you add money into the mix and when you add trying to get to a professional level, it's not about just development anymore. You have to get things done. And at the end of the day, you know, the fun is being taken out of it because of the money in a lot of ways for me as a fan. And so I can't be as gracious towards players because I know they're making a lot of money and I know that they're basically professionals. You know, so to me, that's the biggest disappointment for me is really college football as a whole. But I think when you look back, for the first time in 15 years, you know, we're kind of questioning what's going on with Dabo. We believe that Dabo is one of the best coaches in the country. Earlier this week, he kept reminding us that they're just a few plays away, but it doesn't feel that way. It didn't feel that way before, and it definitely doesn't feel that way now. And really, I don't ever want to hear that again because it's never just that. It's never just a few plays here or there. It is and it isn't, right? Because the teams that were successful over those years, they weren't perfect teams either. You know, the team that we thought was really good, I mean, they lost to LSU in the national championship game and kind of looked pretty bad. You know, it's not just a few plays here or there. It's talent, execution, and preparation and evaluation from the coaching staff. Instead of 3-0 or 4-0, now they're 1-3, and the national perception is that it's slipping away. Recruiting momentum is slipping. Transfer portal strategy is in shock because they used it, but they're not playing the players that they used. Fans are becoming restless. It's not just about another bad game or a few plays here or there. The direction of the program is the concern for the fans. Again, I say this, I've said this before. Dabo Swinney is one of the best coaches in the country, and we are extremely thankful, and I would still build a statue for him. Honestly, and Mickey and I have joked on the radio, I would build him a hologram if, you know, we get to that point. Maybe name the field after him, you know, Memorial Stadium, you know, and Frank, I guess like, or maybe not the field, but you'd name something after Dabo, right? But a statue makes a lot of sense for sure. I think he's going to go out in a good way, but maybe not in the way we had all wanted. We might have wanted him to go out as a national champion, and maybe it's not going to happen anymore. You know, so I would love to see Dabo Swinney coach for a lot longer time, but he's got to change with the times. As Nick Saban said on College Game Day, he's got to change with the times. You know, this just barely dabbling in the transfer portal is just not working. You know, trusting the guys that you have is just not right. You know, you have to be a little bit more critical of the guys that you have. And to be honest with you, you have to be a little bit more critical with the coaching staff that you have. You know, you can't constantly have guys that are just trying to figure out how to coach. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. And if it's your first year as a coach, you're going to regress because you haven't figured it out. You're not going to know what you don't know. I've been there. I've coached teams where I'm like, I better go YouTube how to coach this. Hey, I just became a flight instructor. I have almost 300 hours flying, but that first student that I get, am I going to know everything? No. Am I going to be a better instructor by the time I get to my 200th student? Yeah, definitely. Am I going to be a better instructor by the time I'm retired and 70 years old and can go teach just for fun? Yeah, definitely. My first student might not get the best out of me. They're going to get the best I have, but I don't know what I don't know. Clemson has problems. They don't know what they're doing on offense. You can't tell me they know what they're doing on offense. I think it's a handful of plays, regardless of what the defense is bringing to them, with one option for Cade Klubnik to go to and a check down. That's what I think it is. It's about as high school as you can get. You know, that's what I think. And whether it's because that's all Garrett Riley can do or that's all Cade Klubnik can do, I don't know. But the offensive play calling and what they're doing out there is about as basic as possible. And it's probably because of the limitations of the quarterback, limitations of the offensive line, and the limitations of the wide receivers. That's what I think. But it's pretty basic. You know, I'm not surprised by anything you're getting on offense. The defense, I'm not convinced on the 4-2-5 at all. What is the 4-2-5 other than a bend, don't break defense that can't get any pressure into the backfield? This defense is not scaring anybody. They're not scaring anybody this year. The offensive line's not scaring anybody. The defensive line's not scaring anybody. They've got a few guys that are scaring you. Who's scaring you? 1, Sammy Brown's scaring you. 2, Adam Randall's scaring you. 3, Brian Wesco's scaring you. 4, Antonio Williams, possibly. More than likely, yes, scaring you. That's it. That's not enough players. You know, we had these jokes about the 2016 team. The 2016 team had 22 drafted players, and 7 first rounders. You don't have that on this team. It's just a fact. And so what are they seeing at practice that is convincing them that whatever they're doing is going to work? I have no idea. Because Syracuse was not a good running team going into this game, and Clemson made them look like a good running team. So the rushing defense has not improved. The offense has not improved. The pass blocking has not improved. So there's a lot that's going backwards here. And a lot is slipping away from this team. Clemson's always been a team that had hope to get to the playoff, had hope to get to the ACC championship. Now they're what? Last place in the ACC, probably tied for last. They have to be. They've only played 2 and they're 0-2. If Dabo doesn't figure something out, if anybody can figure it out, it's Dabo Swinney. Okay, I'll say that. Have I lost hope in Dabo? No, but what's one thing that I can say Dabo has always done? He has adapted. Now, he hasn't done it as quickly as we may have wanted, but he has adapted. You know, because when has staff not performed, he's fired them. Has he swapped or replaced players as fast? No, I haven't seen that. But when it comes to staff, he's the kind of guy, he doesn't like to be embarrassed. You know, anytime he gets embarrassed on television, that's when Dabo goes and does something. Maybe there's something he's going to do this weekend that's going to right some of the wrongs. But for me, you know, he's got to self-reflect here. And I think he will. Grayson Mann just posted, he says, I'm a human. This Dabo Swinney talking. I'm a human. I'm not a cyborg. I've been here 23 years. I've invested my life here. When I don't get the job done, I feel responsible. I feel the pain. It's not just my pain. Yeah, I mean, again, I think that Dabo is one of the best coaches in the country still, even with all these problems that we have, that we are facing as Clemson. But at the end of the day, Clemson doesn't look like a very prepared team. They don't look like they know what they're doing in crunch time. Their plays don't really look like they have any kind of rhyme or reason other than just get it to one player. Their defense looks like it's just a bend, don't break, and they're starting to break more than they're bending. You know, there's a lot of concerns for sure. Now, Clemson has a bye week, and this is the worst thing that could happen because now they're going to be sitting on a bye week feeling as if, feeling the pain of this loss for quite some time. You got a video of Dabo Swinney with Avion Terrell, a guy he's known since Avion's known Clemson and known Dabo since he was a little kid. And it's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking. You watch that post game of Dabo just biting his tongue, biting his lip. And that's what I'm saying. I freaking hate the gathering at the Paul now. I hate it. I hate it. Win or lose, Clemson family should be out there on the Tiger Paw with the players. That's what it's all about. It's not rushing the field. It's a freaking tradition that you don't have anymore. And now you got players out there by themselves, and you take away what was true for the Clemson family that you've been having for years. They do the alma mater all by themselves. It's ridiculous. I mean, my entire life you've been able to do that. And, you can't storm the field anymore. I just, that's just me on a soapbox, I guess. But when you look at what can Clemson do, well, it goes back to where are your strengths? Well, they do have a lot of strengths, okay? They have a strength in Bryant Wesco. They have a strength in Adam Randall and Antonio Williams so far, okay? Christian Bentaker also showing some signs that there's a strength there. The other guy's got to be benched for somebody else. I want to see Tristan Smith. I want to see Gideon Davidson. If the offensive linemen are not getting any blocking and Tristan Lee is looking as ridiculous as he looks, they got to sit on the bench. There's no reason to not sit these guys that are not performing, especially if they're not 100%. It was do or die. Every single game was do or die, but now it's not. Now it's not. You have a whole bye week to refigure this out. I don't really know what you do, because if they can't figure it out and they have played and coached for all these years, then I don't think I'm going to figure it out. I don't think any of us are ever going to figure it out. But it goes back to, you got to stick to what you know, and you got to start having some plays that you can trust, and I mean more than just 2 or 3. You got to start having a handful, 2 handfuls of plays that you can absolutely trust in any given moment. And you got to start telling Cade to stay in the pocket, and your offensive line's got to man up. I want to see Cade get sacked and put on his back. And I don't say that in a negative way. I say that I want his feet nailed into the pocket. He's got to stay in that pocket. He cannot back up 15 yards every snap. That's not the pocket way back there. It's not. That turns your 6-yard pass, you're maybe from a 9-yard pass to now a 27-yard pass. That's much more difficult to do. That throws your timing off. If he's not staying in the pocket, get him out of there. He's not your quarterback. And if he's getting made too much money that he can't be taken out of the game, then that's even a bigger of a problem. If they're not running the plays and they're not sitting in the pocket, then they're not a quarterback. They're not a quarterback. If these guys are not making one-on-one catches, or they're dropping a lot of things, or their catch rate is 40%, or whatever we heard from Moore, 47%, I mean, somebody else has got to get a chance. Somebody else, This is the time for other people getting chances keeps going away. And now you get North Carolina and the Fighting Bill Belichick's. It's time for other players to get chances. I don't care how much money you make. You can make a lot of money. I can watch you on the bench, talk to your friends, or look at the iPad or whatever. It's going to be tough for this team. We thought it was tough before, but it's going to be tough for this team to rebound at this point. It really is. This is a catastrophe, a nightmare scenario, as I said at the beginning. I really don't understand it. And at this point, 8-4 is in jeopardy too. You know, can Clemson do 8-4, or maybe it's 7-5? Another big worry is 2026. To me, 2026 is the year that Dabo Swinney has got to go all in on the transfer portal. I don't think that you stick it out with Christopher Vizina. I don't think you stick it out with any of these backup offensive linemen. I don't think you stick it out with some of these guys in the secondary. Really, I mean, there's a lot that needs to be replaced or refreshed. And again, I hate to be that way. I know it's going to hurt your graduation rate, but they're getting paid now. That's the bad part. That's what I hate about college football, is we can't just treat them like we used to. We have to demand a certain level. And the thing is that Clemson is going to pay a lot of money. They're going to invest. And you don't want to see your fans' money wasted. And Bill gets in and says, you cannot lose to North Carolina. Well, the problem is that you could see it coming in. With Brent Key, what did you see? You saw a man on a mission. With Fran Brown, what did you see? A man on a mission. I don't know if you would see that with Bill Belichick, but every game that Clemson goes in where the other team has a better quarterback and they know what they're going to do, they have a strength on offense. We knew going into this game, Georgia Tech had a great offense, and we knew what they knew what they were going to do with it. Syracuse had a great offense, and they knew what they were going to do with it. Now, I would say great, but I'm just going to say they at least were confident in what they were doing. Clemson's not confident in what they're doing. So if they face an offense that's confident and a quarterback that's better than Cade, it's going to be a tough game to win. And if their coach has that fire like Fran Brown and Brent Key does, it's going to be difficult to win. You know, Dabo talks about how his resume speaks for itself and he's been able to rebound and he's had bad years. Well, he hasn't had a year like this. This is the worst season this is the worst start Dabo's ever had. This is a worse start in, many, many, many years. I mean, a nightmare season. And so Clemson has got to, everything is on the table for this team. But I still don't believe Dabo Swinney needs to be gone, because to me, if you do that, then you're completely resetting your whole entire program. You're almost guaranteeing a complete reset. You would have to clear the house of everyone, and I'm talking support staff and everything. You'd have to clean house of just about everyone, because this group, this team has been so ingrained with Dabo Swinney and how Dabo does things that if you bring in any coach that is not Dabo 2.0, you're going to have to wipe the slate clean from support staff all the way through. Really. Really. So it would be a huge reset to have another head coach. I would not recommend that at all. It'd be a terrible idea. If you think that that's a good idea, then you're either not a Clemson fan, or you just like pain, I guess. You want to reset and be a bad team for the next. You could possibly a team that gets rid of a coach in a bad season like this, a championship coach in a bad season like this is and gets rid of them, is destined for at least 5 years of terrible football. In my opinion, you can rebound from this because they're through consistency, fighting through with consistency. I think you got to be a little bit more realistic, less realistic about that, and more realistic about your talent on the field. my analogy continues with, we know that they're good people, that they're good players, that they got a good support staff, and they probably all have a good family. The coaching staff, Dabo has done a lot of revamping on the coaching staff that we liked, that we cheered. So it's not that because Dabo hasn't tried. He tried his way, and then he started to fire those guys and replace them with guys that we thought we agreed with. Everybody agreed with. So it's not for lack of trying in that sense. The last element is the player. And I really believe that the players just aren't as good on this team anymore. You know, there are some that are good, but they're just not as good as what you were expecting. You know, other teams have replenished and replaced and refreshed faster than Clemson. And so Clemson supplemented a little bit, but they still have a lot of glaring issues. The talent evaluation is a huge problem for me. Either they're not being honest with themselves in practice, or they're not seeing it in practice, and that's even scarier. So I don't believe that these guys are 10, 15 times better in practice than they are in a game. So that can't be it. That can't be it. So then what is it? Well, it could be that they just weren't honest with themselves. Either they weren't honest with themselves or they weren't honest with us. In this day and age of college football and transfer portal, you've got to be honest with who is not performing well, whether they're a good person or not, whether they're a program guy or not. And you've got to go get other people in December. You know, you got to get other players in December, even if they're not necessarily better players, just different, refreshed players, you know, because the same old same gets you back to where you're at now. I would never have thought this team would have regressed. Everything that you anticipate is development and improving. That's not what's happening. To me, you know, the best thing you can do, if you don't have a star pitcher, what do you got to do? Look at what Brad Brownell did. Look at what John Rittman did. John Rittman did not have another Valerie Cagle on his roster. So he went out and he got Reese Basinger to pitch. And she was the starting pitcher. When you know you're losing your starting pitcher and you don't have one behind that's shown you anything, then you got to go get one in the transfer portal. It's just a fact. You know? If you're looking at these offensive linemen and they're just not getting any better, you got to go get some fresh ideas out there, some fresh players. And that's to me the first thing you got to do. But you can't do it in 2025. Okay? You can't do it this season. So what do you got to do this season? Well, this season you got to lick your wounds, and Dabo's got to maybe he's got to stop being so rah-rah guy, and he's got to start having some real conversations with some people. You know? He's got to have those one-on-ones with his players and say, hey, like, what are we going to do here? If it were me, and I've never been in his spot, but I'm going to assume what he's going to do. He's got to get with his leaders on the team, both coaches and players. He's got to make sure his leaders are on board. And then he's got to get from his leaders anybody who's not on board. And if there's anybody who's not on board, they don't play anymore. They don't play. You know? And if you lose more games, you lose more games. And if there's anybody just not performing, no matter how much money you make, you don't play. You don't play. And so that includes the quarterback. And so there's got to be some hard decisions when it comes to player personnel going into the bye week, because they're going to have 2 road games coming up, North Carolina and then Boston College. I believe if anybody is the leader to do it, it's Dabo. And L's King, you're completely wrong. You know, I haven't seen you in the comments ever, and I'm assuming you're not a Clemson fan, and I'm assuming you've barely ever been on the show, but you're completely wrong. You definitely haven't listened to me ever. But I'm going to go try to find that post-game press conference. You could probably find it on TigerNet, or you'll probably be on TigerNet if you go check out the post-game press conference, or on with our friends over on the Clemson Insider. They'll probably have it up as well. But hey, that's it for this post-game press conference. I'm going to go maybe get an ice cream or something because I'm depressed. But hey, I want to let you know that Locked On has a lot of things going on right now. If you have Fire TV, there's a big moment for Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview show. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview show only Locked On can do. Catch Locked On College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. And as always, Tiger fans, hey, we'll see you on Monday. And that's it for this show. And we'll see you. I know they're going on some road games. So, and by the way, check before I sign off, check out that college football kickoff show. I went onto my Fire TV app and I saw when you go to like Fire TV Live TV, and then you go to sports and then college football, there's Locked On Clemson and there's all the other Locked Ons, and then there's the college football preview show. It's pretty cool. You know, it's kind of nice to be a part of something like Locked On in that sense. So, hey, thank you so much again. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.